Trollkin here. Welcome back to Draw Phase, and in today's video we are back with some budget decks. Today we are covering Yasuo, Attack Yasuo. That's right. And the funny thing is, I have never done a Yasuo deck list in the history of this channel, so it's new for me, but good for you because I had to really think about this one. And the idea behind this deck is just like attack, move back, attack as much as possible, and it's really cool and a lot of fun to play. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, please subscribe. We do card reveals, deck lists, we do live streams on Tabletop Simulator, and product openings. So if you're looking for a channel, all things Riftbound, this is the one for you. So let's get into it. There's a lot to discuss, and I'm generally not a Yasuo player. However, this deck was fun to play. The deck price is only 15 euros. Now, obviously, with shipping costs, if you're looking at Card Market or TCG Player, try and look for a individual who's selling all the cards at once. Obviously, sometimes that's not going to be the case. So this price may vary depending on from how many people you buy the cards from. But generally, these are a lot of commons and uncommons and a couple of rares. So it's not going to be that hard to find. And if you really just want to, buy the bulk of it from one person and incur like maybe 1 or 2 shipping costs, then it should still be under like 20 or 25 euros, honestly. But we have Yasuo, actually a really cool legend. I've never really played that much Yasuo, but testing this deck out, I was just like, hey, this is a lot of fun, and this is actually pretty solid. You just have to like kind of like unlearn like the way moving does in like other decks that you play, if that makes sense, because you have a legend that just does it for you, so you can generally, if you have enough energy, move twice with like every unit that you have. And what the game plan is just going to be moving in, scoring points, incurring showdowns, and moving back to your base as much as possible. And there are some tricks, and there are really cool things that you could do, like dropping off Yasuo at a battlefield very cheaply, which is like just a really great way to maybe get a hold point. So let's get into the rune split. We are doing 6 and 6, nice even split. Really cool and important battlefield that generally isn't played. Back alley bar. When a unit moves from here, give it +1. So this synergizes incredibly well with something like Mask of Foresight and triggering your legend ability. So it does stack, right? And if you have things like Windswept Hillock and or a Ride the Wind, you can stack might on top of each other very easily. And especially if it is the champion, right? Or if it does damage equal to its might to a unit. Yeah, great. You could take out big things potentially. And yeah, so that is generally like a really important battlefield. I would say choose this first because chances are your opponents aren't really moving around that much, right? And since we do have a lot of move triggers with certain cards, and it's really easy to move back and forth by triggering our legend ability, yeah, you get some might on top of your units there. On top of that, we have Reaver's Row. Again, like I'm just saying, like play it this way. Don't try and score any hold points. Conquer points, move back to your base, build up an army, get as many move triggers as you can, stack up Mask of Foresight, use your legend ability, and play a little like tricky, I guess. It's like a completely different playstyle that I'm not accustomed to. However, it was a lot of It was a lot of fun learning it. So going into the main deck, obviously we talked about the green Yasuo, 6 energy, 2 power, and when I attack, deal damage equal to my might to an enemy unit here. So 6 might can hit by singularity, but generally you want to play this like when you have enough things, or sorry, enough resources to either ride the wind and maybe pop off on guard on top of it, right? And this you're going to use at the very end of the game. This is you're going to use to generally score the last 1 or 2 points either with using Ride the Wind in combination with your legend's ability to move back and forth. So you play Yasuo, you move it in with this, right? You move it in with the legend. You unguard it. You're more than likely going to kill whatever's on the battlefield, right? And then you can combo it with Ride the Wind to sweep over to the other battlefield if there is a unit there. With triggering Mask of Foresight, there's a lot of things you could do. Also, back alley bar, it just gets stronger, and then you can just kind of like knock out your opponents there. And even if that's not enough and they just still trade, you can just move in your sneaky deckhand and you can conquer from there. So a lot of ways to actually win the game, but again, move in, attack, move back out using your legend. save your units as much as possible, but burn through as many spells as possible because it only makes Rasa cheaper. So, furthermore, going to the main deck, Defies hits 65% of the spells out there. Incredibly important. Put that pressure on your opponent. Make sure he's going through your trash every single time, counting how many Defies are in there, being like, okay, so what do I play? Mess with him a little bit. Mess with your opponent. Play the mind games. Use the Defies. Also, Stack Deck, probably the best purple card in the game. Honestly, every time at my Nexus Nights I play against a person using Stack Deck, I'm just like, oh god, now he's looking at exactly what he wants, and he's grabbing what he needs, right? On guard, it just says like solid, right? So we're generally going to be moving in one at a time with our units, right? Really good with Wielder of Water because it can go up to 6, right? Because it gets +2 when attacking or defending. So generally people like play Sunlit Guardian, but I like Wielder of Water a lot better in this deck. I tested it with Sunlit Guardian, but the shield, the holding didn't really coincide or work well with the game plan of just like attacking and moving in. So this one is better, and it's just like for 1 energy, it's cheap, right? You stack 2 might at reaction speed. Really, really good. Mask of Foresight we talked about. This is generally I used to call like the Mask of Brokenness. This is like in this deck, it really really does shine. This card is like actually this gear is actually really really good for Yasuo. I think it was that's what it was intended for. It reads for only 2 energy, you just pop it down onto your base. It is a gear when a friendly unit attacks or defends alone, give it +1 this turn. So you know, an attacking wielder of water with like another on guard or something, and the Mask of Foresight becomes a 7 might unit, you know, attacking, which is really strong considering that's something like a really early game play. Like you can play this your first turn, you know, play your wielder of water. I believe your second turn, and then you should be, if you're going second, have enough to use the Yasuo Legend ability, right, to move in. And then, you know, there you go. That's already a 5 might unit. So this stacks also if you have 2. Obviously, you have double triggers. So, yeah, it's just a really good card. I love it. I think it's great in 1v1. I think it's great in 2v2. Moving along, Traveling Merchant. Probably the second best purple card in the game. So good because we want to dig into our deck. We want to grab all the spells when we want to put some pressure, some control pressure on your opponent by looking for things like your stack decks, burning through your deck, looking for your Ride the Winds, looking for your Defies, Disciplines, even your Rebukes, right? We aren't running Gust because generally we don't need help with the early game units, right? And by what I mean by early game units is like low might units. Because we do have things like Wheel of Water that gets actually pretty big when it's moving around. And also we have fighter flights to kind of push those like tiny units that are annoying or something if you can't just like conquer a battlefield with what you have, but you generally should because we have, you know, we have buffs, we have battle tricks and everything like that. And basically we're digging into our deck, we're drawing, we're discarding, and we're discarding because of Rasa. We want to get Rasa really cheap, ideally to like 1 power, right? It's not going to always be the case, but the idea is that we're moving in, attacking with something like Wielder of Water or even Yasuo, like, or, you know, or just dropping off a sneaky deckhand, right, onto an open battlefield, right? Then we just drop off the Rasa, and then we move back our unit with our Legend ability. So that we can either potentially score a holding point with a Rasa, who's just going to, you know, sit there with 6 might. And then if you do, you can do some battle tricks with on guards or disciplines and or rebukes, fight or flights. And then, you know, it's just something they're going to have to worry about. And then they're also going to have to worry about your Yasuo at your base or things like Wielder of Water at the base. So you actually burn through the deck very, very fast because we have so many copies of cards. So Rasa gets incredibly cheap, incredibly fast. Moving along, Ride the Wind, incredible combo with Yasuo, especially with the Legend ability. Yes, it is costly. Like, obviously, I would suggest if you have the time to play the Yasuo, right? Wait a turn, and then pop down Ride the Wind, and then you can move around with also the Legend ability. It is swinging its sword left and right, dealing the mites damage. Also, if you're triggering off back alley bar, you know, for instance, if it's moving away from it, it gets 7 might. If you, as soon as it moves in with something else, into a different battlefield or the same battlefield, you get another +1 plus all the battle tricks. Like the damage actually stacks pretty high and can like chop down like some pretty big units. So Ride the Wind, incredibly important. Good way to also score the last 2 points, right? If you're at 6, especially with Yasuo. Discipline, solid green card. We all know what it does. Reaction speed, 2 energy, +2 to a unit, and draw 1. Again, that card draw, incredibly important. I want you to burn through your cards so you can make Rasa as cheap as possible. Flight or Flight, we just talked about. Do both. Like you can either at action speed, push something out if you really need to on your turn, or you can hide it after the Rasa has been dropped off by your mom's van at a battlefield. And it's just a really good way to like actually add like some point holding into the deck. Although generally Rasa is the only thing that is going to be allowed. I'll only allow Rasa to be onto a battlefield to hold a point. I want you to move back with your legend ability all the other units. Rebuke, really important because there are going to be some points like when things like Watcher comes down, right? And also the one cool thing that I forgot to mention about this deck is that Watcher actually becomes incredibly useless against Yasuo, right? Because we're not trying to hold, we're just trying to do conquer points, right? And Watcher is like one of those cards that's just kind of like a swing turn card where it's like usually played from behind, or they lure in their opponent to fill up the battlefields and then play a Watcher and kind of like wipe out like either 1 or 2 of their battlefields with their units on it. And that's not the game plan. So generally this deck plays around Watcher incredibly well, right? And for all the other big things like Dr. Mundo, maybe a Deadbloom Predator. Yes, the Deadbloom Predator is kind of like an awkward target for Rebuke, but honestly, if it's going to win you the game by just like getting rid of something big and just moving in, scoring a point, getting ready, ganking over, like all like so many different things, then why not? Then why not invest into those resources to play your Rebuke? So that's why that is there to get rid of big things. Wield of Water, great card for this deck. When it moves around, it's really good. Stacks with Mask of Foresight. We already talked about a little bit with Back Alley Bar. It gets surprisingly big. It is susceptible to like a lot of like target down spells because it's only at 2 mites. That's why we run like some disciplines and some on guards. If you do get Falling Starred, right? That is why we have the Wind Walls. We're getting to a point in the meta where hard running Wind Walls is actually becoming more common, just because countering something like Unchecked Powers, Falling Stars, Singularities, it's just like if those cards were to resolve, you lose so much tempo. I hard run Wind Walls in my Ari deck, right? And it made the world of a difference. Like just wind walling Unchecked Power just feels so good. Wind walling Singularity is totally worth it because you don't want to lose any tempo, and just shutting them down in that position is really strong. So I highly suggest, maybe even like for any other green deck as well, you should always at least maybe run one, just how the meta is now. Like Ichthian Rain is a thing, Falling Star is a thing, like all these spell removal cards are a thing, and also like things like Imperial Decree is something being played in Victor a lot right now. So Windwall, solid choice. I would say add 1 or 2 if you're running green nowadays. It's just the way the meta has evolved. Sneaky Deckhand, really, really cool. You can score a point, right? Just play it from your hand, and then just move it back with Yasuo, right? Don't hold onto a battlefield, right? The only battlefield that you're allowed to hold on to is Reaver's Row, because you could just move back if you're defending there, right? Again, you do have to remember that you have to choose right away, right? That is declared during the attack phase, like as your opponent is attacking, right? Don't say, okay, don't wait for him to play a card, because there's going to be some players out there that are going to be like, oh, hey, but, you should have done that before I, was able to play a card. You said it was okay, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, the only battlefield you are allowed to hold on with this deck is Reaver's Row, because you can just save your units going back. Furthermore, we have Find Your Center. So we're in that awkward position where, because Windwall is so valuable and Rebuke is so valuable, that we're going to get to, a little bit of like resource management trouble, right? So, and Find Your Center is actually really good. Even if it's like just for 3, it's solid. You draw a card and you channel Rune Exhausted. If your opponent is up to 5 points, or 3 points, I'm sorry, away from the victory score, depending if they have Aspirant's Climb as one of their battlefields, then it costs 2 less, and you can only, for one to channel and a rune and draw a card is incredibly good. We talked about Windball and we talked about Rasa. Yeah, Rasa is really cool in this deck. Like, I had a lot of fun just dropping him off. You throw things like Sneaky Deckhand onto a battlefield, right? You drop off the Rasa. You move back your you move back your Sneaky Deckhand with the Legend ability. And, you can pump up your Rasas with some spell abilities. You can even ride the wind to score 2 points. I mean, it's just a really funny way to play a deck. Like, I had a lot of fun playing this deck just because it is so simple. It is so straightforward. It doesn't really rely on holding points, and it's just like really awkward, and like it surprises your opponent. Like, wait, why is he not trying to do any holding points? So that is basically it, guys. This deck is actually it's a lot of fun. It did really well. Like, I had a lot of fun playing with it. I think I was like 2-1 in the best of 3. So not too shabby, and again, you guys, this is just a budget deck, right? It is 15 euros. It is not going to win regionals by any means, but if you are bored playing the decks that you have and you just have cards laying around and all you need really is one Yasuo, a couple of commons and uncommons, and literally 3 rares. That's it. That's all it is. In combination, it is only 4 rares, well, plus Legend 5, right? And it's all commons and uncommons. So if you're just trying to find a different deck to play, definitely try Yasuo out. I've been sleeping literally since the middle of July when I started playing Riftbound on Yasuo, and I'm actually kind of disappointed I did because this deck was a lot of fun. But yeah, so that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate support, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.